Hi everybody, this is Jaime González from the Katy Prairie Conservancy. I'm super happy that you are ready to plant a prairie plant. I'm here on our Warren Ranch, and we're right here at a stream restoration area where we're trying to bring back prairie. So this is a great place to demonstrate how to properly plant a prairie plant so that it survives and it gives back to wildlife. So I have a Texas coneflower here. It's taken months to grow out this Texas coneflower, so I want to ensure its survival by putting it in the ground properly, and that's what this video is really going to show you. And this technique is generally applicable to prairie plants here in the upper Texas coast. All right, your first step is creating a hole that properly fits the plant. Now, it could be that you're participating in a really large planting like the Putting Down Roots event or the Prairie Pandemonium or Plantathon. So if that occurs, they're probably going to already dig the holes for you. But if you have to dig the holes yourself, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to dig the hole such that once you put the pot in the hole, that the soil inside the pot matches the level outside of the pot or is slightly above that level of the prairie. And that's going to ensure that your plant doesn't drown if there's a really heavy rain. And you've got to remember that these plants tend to settle, so that if you do it a little higher than the prairie, it should settle down to the level of the prairie. So make sure not to create a well effect where you have this deep well that your plant is in and it collects too much water. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and size the pot. All right, now I'm ready to put the plant into the hole to make sure that the level inside the pot is equal or a little bit higher to the level outside the prairie. So I put it in here, and I notice that the level of my soil inside the pot is a little bit lower than the surrounding prairie. And this can also happen if the holes have been pre-augured before you got to the site. So it's really your job as the planter to make sure that you are putting the plant at the right level. Even though somebody else might have dug it, you're the quality control agent. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, it's likely that this plant has been growing in this pot for a long time. And that means that the roots may be helping to stick this plant in the pot. Now, I don't want to yank on the plant like this because it's likely to damage the plant. So instead what I'm going to do is, with the heel of my palm, is I'm just going to hit the bottom of the pot to loosen the plant from the pot in a gentle way that's not going to hurt the plant. Then I grasp the plant like this, lift the pot off, and you can see that the roots are growing in a circle. Well, this means that this plant is really, really ready to get in the ground. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roughen up the roots just a little bit to free them up from growing in the circle. I'm not going to be too hard on these because they do have small hairs that you don't want to damage. Now, when I put it inside the hole, I can already notice that it's too low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some soil, pack it down so it's not too fluffy. I'm going to remeasure, and when I remeasure it, it's still too low, so I'm going to add a little bit more soil. Now it's about the height of the surrounding prairie and it's ready to go in the ground. But here's a very important thing. You're never going to come back and take care of this plant again. So you got to make sure that it is wet enough to survive that brief period of time where it's getting established. So what I would suggest, particularly in dry times, like in the summertime or if the ground is particularly dry, before you ever bring this plant out, wet it thoroughly. Then add some water to the hole. And this really depends on how dry your prairie is. If it's really dry and it's the middle of summer, put a whole gallon of water before you even put the plant in. Now, our prairie here is fairly wet, so I didn't put a whole gallon in, but I'm going to go ahead and stick our plant in. And then I'm going to fill in any open spaces, and you really don't want pockets of air between your plant and the surrounding prairie. You want to make sure to pack it down really well and to get all the air bubbles out between the spaces. Those air bubbles can kill the plants because the roots don't like those real open air bubbles. Now, on a very dry day, I would then go ahead and add another gallon of water. You're not going to add too much water. This will go through the plant pretty quickly. So don't be afraid that you're going to drown the plant. A much bigger risk is having it too dry. All right, you're about to finish up putting this plant in the ground. So the last thing you want to do is do the dance around, which means that you're going to go ahead and walk around the plant and you're going to kind of step it in just like this. And that is forcing the air out of the spaces that might damage your plant otherwise. And that's it. Now, this plant might grow here or its descendants for decades. You've done a lot of good, you've planted the plant, and you're ready to go.